All right, thank you, music team, and Walida for leading us in that meditation. And welcome to those of us who may be watching this later at some point on our YouTube channel. And welcome to the Tulsa Center for Spiritual Living, where we hold services every Saturday night at 5 p.m. online and in person. So our theme for this month, which Chris kicked us off with on the first week of the month, is Light Within the Shadows. Now, it's an interesting topic, and today's topic talk title is Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. It makes me think of a lullaby and going to sleep. And I'm going to quote from this famous philosopher, Mr. Bob Ross. Y'all familiar with Bob Ross?
Yes.
It's a happy little tree. He said, put light against the light and you have nothing. Put darkness against darkness and you have nothing. It is the contrast of light and dark that each give the other one meaning. Now, I could not imagine a quote from Bob Ross striking so perfectly for the talk team for the light within the shadows. Because this month, we're diving into how those contrasts of light and dark, of good and evil, but we don't use that word very often here in our community, of good and bad in the way that we judge things, that they give us that counterbalance. Imagine the tough days that you've had. And sometimes we move from that tough day to think of the good days that we've had to help bring us out of that sense or feeling of darkness or less than or not great. To be able to balance ourselves as we move in beautiful ways. I shared with you all earlier in the year, maybe it was late last year, that Kim, Ben, and I went to the Okie-Tex stargazing party.
Oh, yeah.
Out in Black Mesa, 8 hours from here on the panhandle of Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a really long state when you go out west. But I remember being there. The day was hot and very quiet because a lot of people were sleeping after staying up all night. But towards the end of the afternoon, around 4 or 5 o'clock, you could begin to feel this buzz in the air because we knew something miraculous was about to happen. And it happens every night, whether we can see it or not. I remember the brilliant feelings of dusk coming as those brilliant hues of light, like truly proof of God at the end of the day, those slowly coming down of daylight into the evening. And then slowly over hours of time, as the sky left its last hues of the sun, we begin to see the twinkling of the stars. At first, just a few, some planets, some of the brightest stars in our galaxy that we're able to see. And the beautiful thing about this transitional time is it lets our eyes, lets our being begin to adjust from the energy and excitement of the day or of the good times in our life, moving into that place where we can now see the contrast. Those stars are always there, but they're blocked out from the brilliance of our closest star, the sun. And then this blanket of stars appeared before us. Light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, all in order. And a bunch of astronomers who could tell us actually what they were, which including my son, Ben, which was really beautiful. Those stars, they shine in the daylight, but we cannot see them until we get into the darkness of the night. Just like the water in the ocean is always glistening and sparkling, we cannot see those sparkles on the water without the illumination of the light. There is this complementary partnership of light and shadows that adds richness to both the light and the shadows. While it may seem that one may overpower the other, actually one cannot be seen without the support of the other. And then when we appreciate both the light and the shadows, we welcome the levity and lightness of the light, along with the depths that darkness can create to allow us to create balance and wholeness. It takes both. It takes both and for all of those experiences in our life to create the example of wholeness. Now, from a science of mind point of view, wholeness is that aspect that embraces all pieces of truth. That continuum requires an openness to gain perspective from both sides, fear and faith, feminine and masculine, darkness and light, anger and peace, joy and pain. When we can learn from the depths of what shadows offer, our ongoing experience is lighter and brighter, right? As we experience and recognize the good that comes out of the dark periods of our life, it helps our light shine brighter. It's that recognition. When we are in a dark place, our strengths, what we're really made of, get mined and more visible. What we really desire becomes clearer, and what thoughts, views, practices, and beliefs work best for us become more apparent when we've gotten ourselves into a dark place by not thinking or practicing that way, by not forcing ourselves into that spot. Have you ever heard of the proverbial 2x4 on the head? Sometimes it knocks us. But that proverbial 2x4 on the head, when we haven't previously noticed our inner compass or nudges, when it hasn't been dark enough to see what we were, that to see that we were off of our best track, or not being our magnificent self, right? When we're in this place of unsettled, right? We tend to kind of know it, but then it takes that recognition when the darkness in our lives hits that place, and we have this momentary recognition. It's like, I'm here in this place, and it doesn't feel great. Well, what's the contrast to that? Let me call in a deeper sense of love. Let me call in a deeper sense of knowing that I really am all that there is, to help move us by contrast into that place of true expression. I want to talk about the concept of shadow play. Our shadow is part of our true self. It's illuminated by the light. We only see our shadow when we have the light shining on us and we cast a shadow. It's an outline of our body, but it also can apply to other objects. When we move, it moves. It is not separate from us. It's as if it's following us or mimicking us or leading us. Even when we don't see our shadow, it's still there. An eclipse, let's go back to a sky metaphor, is the shadow of the moon on the sun. When we think of our shadow metaphorically, we can imagine that the shadow or dark side of our being is always with us, whether we acknowledge it or not. So we can ignore that shadow, or we can acknowledge it. But when we allow it to be fully seen and bring it into view, it outlines with the details of our expression. Yet it has movement and expression on its own. Our shadow is alive and moves with us in mimicry to a different vantage point. So what does our shadow offer us? What can it reveal about our true, authentic self that we may not readily invite it to express? Our shadow is a great partner, and it can reveal the rich diamond flakes underneath ourselves. Another way to look at light in our lives and the mixing of lives is through the colors of the rainbow. So pretty in the night, right? We sang that song to the kids all the time at bedtime. The full suite of colors in the rainbow include those that appear even to be colorless or neutral, like clear, beige, white, black, and gray. Even though these colors don't appear to have color, they are colorful themselves, just differently from the more vibrant colors. So as we shift our perspective to a more all-encompassing and inclusive view, our view expands to where there's no longer need for exclusion. When we recognize the blacks, the whites, and the grays are just there as much as the brilliant colors of the rainbow that we know to see, we include them. For instance, a practical life experience is the introduction of flesh tone band-aids, makeup, or nylons. For years, the only shades available in these products. How did this make those with darker skin pigments feel? As our society began to explore some of the darker sides of society, like racism, oppression, and microaggressions, options for these shades began to be expanded, where folks across the spectrum of skin tones can now get a Band-Aid or nylons or hose that match and complement their own skin tones. They could have been made 50 years ago, but they weren't. As life evolves and unfolds and we open to a new perspective, there's greater quality, greater opportunities for equality. These may seem like small things to some, but for others, it's a work in progress. Dark has always been given a bad rap, which is a microaggression in its own nature. When we explore all the colors of the rainbow, even the colorless and neutral colors, it allows for expansion, inclusion, and incorporation of oneness through multiple lenses. And it makes people feel welcomed and appreciated and included, and that they belong. Another great time to see the colors are in fireworks and light shows. Public displays of fireworks are often used for holidays, or last night at the soccer game after a goal was scored by the home team, the FC Tulsa, we got fireworks. Typically, these light shows are done in the dark, right? They wouldn't be quite as vivid at noon on the 4th of July, and that's why we wait till sundown to see them. Just like the stars, they are seen best twinkling in the sky against the night backdrop. Light and dark, once again, partner together to highlight the various patterns and colors. And the color magic is so special in its own right, yet it needs that partnership with the darkness and the light. Our lives just might be the same way. If we can get past the scary monsters that we were socialized into believing in that create mystery and fear of the darkness. I remember being in my bedroom when the lights went off and hoping that closet door was all the way closed. If we can get past those scary monsters, we can better witness what this twilight has to reveal to us so that we can bring it into the light of the new day, to know that we're just as safe in the day as we are in the night in those bedrooms. What were monsters can turn into monstars that we embrace and appreciate for what they have to offer us in the depths of reverence and revelation. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Only in the darkness can you see the stars." He knew this. If we allow the dark to be demystified, then we can open our arms and welcome the depths of what it has to offer. If we can allow ourselves to free fall into the seemingly forbidden abyss of darkness, we can discover the light that is within the shadows as we allow our eyes to adjust to the dark. And as we stand in our faith of always being protected and guided by the vast, unending universal presence, we no longer have reason to avoid the darkness or our shadow. Because remember that we always stand in the light, even in the midst of the darkness. We remember that the dark is part of our universal presence, and we stand in oneness with it all. As we embrace and appreciate standing in the darkness is a natural part of our life. It is there that we find the beauty of darkness and light. Then the twinkle of the star takes on a deeper meaning. And Dr. Ernest Holmes said, "Be the light that shines in the darkness." I think I'm going to listen to Ernest today. And remember that as we go about our lives, we recognize that some people that we love and people in our community may be in a place of darkness, even though they're smiling bright and saying everything is great. But when we have that opportunity to shine our light on them, to welcome them with love and appreciation, then we shift our own vibration, their vibration, and the vibration of the planet. And guess what? We also live in a reciprocating universe that allows us to take our moments of sadness or grief or feeling less than or other than, to take us into that place and be receptive to those who are going to shine that light and going to be the light in the darkness for ourselves. One of the things that we do when we go into prayer, we think about the absolutes, right? Spirit is an absolute. Love is an absolute. Peace is an absolute. Wholeness is an absolute. How can you be whole and part? Wholeness and oneness are all encompassing thoughts. So when we go into the need for prayer for ourselves or for others, we're often coming with, I'm feeling in darkness, I'm feeling pain, I'm feeling sadness, I'm feeling discomfort. And it could be in any area of the life, and health and relationship and finances and all of those things. Well, in the concept of wholeness, it embraces it all. It embraces the light and the dark. It embraces the poverty and the abundance. All of these things are emanations of spirit as spirit works through us and through our consciousness. So through the practice of prayer or affirmations, we come back in alignment. One of the things Michael Beckwith always talks about, wars or rumors of wars all come from a false sense of separation. Mm-hmm. So we see these things in our lives and they're very real, but we know behind it all is that same principle of oneness. So that's the vibration that shifts when we go into prayer. So let's do a little bit now. Breathing in to come centered in this moment. Take a good deep belly breath in and let it go. And another breath in and let it go. And one more breath in and let it go. That breath of God is breathing me right now. Knowing that every cell of my body knows exactly what to do at every moment. It knows how to heal. It knows how to digest. It knows how to make the neural pathways in my brain that are built as I think and move and have my being in this one beautiful emanation of God. I know that within myself, as I speak this word of truth for me and each person here, I know that each of us is that whole place of spirit within. And so moving into this place of realization, I bless those times in our lives that are vibrant and colorful and full of energy and love and passion and joy. And at the same time, I'm going to bless those neutral colors of gray and black and white and beige, and recognize that they too are colors of the magnificent rainbow, that without each sides of the spectrum, without the darkness of the light, not of the night, we wouldn't be able to see and experience those magnificent, brilliant, twinkling stars in our world today. And so speaking this word of prayer, I know that each person who is suffering from any sense of loss, that they are healed now as they move into alignment with knowing that they are the true source of energy and love and wisdom. And from there, they have the vision to see their way to the most perfect pace of peace and abundance and health and love. And so I give thanks for this energy of life. I give thanks for this teaching and the knowing that despite outer circumstances, at the core of each of us is the one, holding within it all good, all purpose, all energy and light. And so I release this word of prayer. I release it to the fertile soil of the law that responds to my word, and it is done. And so it is. Amen. All right, let me turn off the recording and then we'll open up for conversation.